Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this new edition of the morning briefing. 1 second. That's right. Here it is. So let's start with a quick recap of what's been happening. Yesterday was quite an interesting day from a technical perspective. We have broken through with significant volumes the lows from Friday, as we had pointed out, even though they were recovered by the close. However, important levels on the American indices, particularly the NASDAQ and this could likely lead to further declines for sure. So it's a situation to keep an eye on from a macroeconomic perspective as well. The news that add to it, as I mentioned yesterday in the chat, regarding the Atlanta Fed's balance sheet, all things we clarified yesterday in the chat. There are a few data points to monitor for sure. Tomorrow's data and Friday's employment data will be crucial to understand what the immediate developments could be of this situation. As for Europe, yesterday there was a very lively opening. I sat among the European indices. They were among the best performers from companies in the defense sector, given these unrelenting winds of war. There was this good sprint morning, even though it then came back, but not completely. Even here in Europe, the situation is not, even if the numbers say that the economy is doing well, but frankly, from a real economic point of view, as already said on other occasions, low. I see all this only in the numbers, but not in the reality of the facts. We'll see anyway. What the reality of the facts will be. Let's move on then. So to a graphical analysis of the situation, as we said, so the American indices took quite a hit yesterday with quite significant volumes. The standard of pure fact seems to me 2,400,000 lots of traded, 2,400,000 lots. The NASDAQ has arrived about 740,000, 720,000. Franchetta, I don't remember exactly right now, but these are important numbers. SP was at 98% in terms of volume levels. So on 4-year historical series show very, very important volumes. Having made this small introduction regarding the volumes, as we said, we can also take a look at it on a chart, maybe on a higher time frame. In short, after these continuous fluctuations, here we are, of new highs. There was a bit of a range created, then the storm hit. The level that we have, the levels that we have broken are these of this resistance here of 27.28. And this is the level, these are the levels that must absolutely be recovered in order to attempt a return to this area. And so then for any potential new attacks on the peak zones, but as long as we stay below these levels, it's likely that we'll be leaning more towards a downward trend, maybe around the 20,000 area and even a little below that. In short, I absolutely don't rule it out, so it could very well happen. So maximum attention regarding the details of the day. Let's go back to the 5-minute chart, as you can see here. So in the evening, after, well, the Fed report of 80, so there was a nice pullback, quite a strong one, with volumes that brought the prices, close to the weekly limits of the weekly VIX area. From here, there was an attempt to bounce back, also with good volumes, but that's because there were good volumes throughout the entire session. And now, well, it has somewhat stabilized right around the lows made on Friday. These are the ones we see on the left. For today, of course, we're waiting, but probably after yesterday's nice drop, and while we wait for the important data coming tomorrow on Friday, today we'll probably see a sideways day with definitely not much volume. Not as much as yesterday, and not as much as yesterday. And so it's a day of waiting. I expect, obviously everything can change because there aren't even any macro data. So there's nothing coming out to report, so I don't think so. So We won't move too much from, what this range can be between RD2, and ESD2. Probably, this will be the range for the day. So with some attempts to go up. So I repeat, in my opinion, we're heading in a direction with a short bias. So at this moment, it's definitely preferable to focus on short trades. Obviously, as per the strategy, when we find ourselves in a range area, we can easily trade in both directions, in both directions, in both directions. In both directions, and also with a contrary operation. So absolutely. Okay, let's move on to the standard and pure. Here too, the situations are similar, but we should almost repeat everything that was said for the NASDAQ. The situation is nice and clear. We're currently, in a descending channel that with decreasing highs and lows. Right now, let's take a look at it on the 1 hour TORS chart. Here it is. We're, at important levels, let's say SP, let's say the level iPhone 8 is the level exactly. The first stronghold that has held up so far. A break of 5.8, so it would definitely bring the prices to an attack on these lows. And so we're definitely getting into dangerous territory here. So it has broken these lows. In short, it has a bit of a way to go, because except for this sideways movement, we can define it as accumulation, then make a downward attempt and then break upward. But I believe that then 55 and 50 is the real support. We'll see the developments for daily trading. For daily trading, in short, similar to A. So the situation for NQ is that we've seen little. Actually, we're currently in this range just like it was exactly the same way. The volumes were really high on S yesterday. So we will probably move in this range for today. I repeat, as the weight is for tomorrow and then for Friday. For the NOFAP and rolls, let's move on. Let's give a team to the other American indices. Here we are. So let's start with the Dow Jones. Well, it seems so. I repeat, even yesterday, I think it held up a bit better, even though maybe due to the volatility and the speed of movement. So it might have dropped a few more points, but I believe it has held up better overall. The volumes were also good here, but not excessive. Let's say it's really record-breaking as it has been for S, and for the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the Russell. And here the volumes, have also been quite decent, as we can see. Similar situation. We're anchored at the BIST 3 levels, and also for the NASDAQ. Then I need to remind you to point out a change for the indicator. That is more also for the Russell. We are within of a trading range. At the moment, the consequences of the drop are probably due to distribution or accumulation. We'll see which direction they want to take. They want to take, but I repeat, for today, I don't expect any big movements. Well, as we know, the market, offers expansion movements and then takes pauses then restart. So probably today, the day will be one of waiting and sideways movement in anticipation for tomorrow. And let's take a look at Europe with the DAX, which is the index that we are following. The opening wasn't the best according to Tarivaso. We are at the minimum levels. It's precisely as a result of this, because while it's true that yesterday morning they opened with a lot of energy on the push by these war events, and therefore driven from these sector companies that are part of the arms industry. And so after, aside from that, then there are all the consequences that a war can bring with all, let's say, the consequences, both in terms of life, that of the cost of living, that would become Definitely not. The adjective comes to mind. I think I've conveyed the idea of what I wanted to say. So here too, maximum attention. We're already at the lows, so a break of these lows, it could bring the price back to a test of levels of the weekly HW level, which is then accompanied by a few levels of KSP. And so we'll also see the situation here. So I repeat, it almost formed a head and shoulders pattern here with a nice neckline here. We're just going to draw it. I'll show you just to see 1, 2, and 3 neckline. And there you go. So it might have also run its course. Basically, the movement could start to rise again. This movement is definitely interesting. Right off the bat, the morning session went to test the lows. At the moment, they're holding up, but we'll see then what the developments might be throughout the day. Let's take a look at the commodities as usual. Let's take a look at oil. So let's see here, last night, at the close, there was a bit of a drop in the price that it brought. Let's take a look a bit longer. Radius. So a movement that continues to make lower highs and lower lows. In short, a trend that continues to be downward. So probably the traders will be more focused on, or in short, the peaceful resolution of the conflict in Ukraine. Consequently, I'm back to the market. And so in every sense of Russian oil, it will definitely bring the price down. It could bring the price, even lower. At the moment, we've broken the BC3 levels. We're working just below it. This is the BC3 level. Formed this morning. We're working on it. So around, but, the important thing now is to try to recover this return here so that we can then attempt a push upward. Otherwise, the continuation, you see, without even drawing it, there's a little channel. It's true that it's nighttime and the volumes are definitely low, but they're still accompanying low, in quotes, definitely low. Because considering the time and the context we always have to make of the volumes when we go to looking in a percentile form, we realize that, the push has been there. In short, the movement is continuing. So you see how, a little channel has formed and it could easily bring prices down to the day's minimum areas. We'll see. The developments, let's give ourselves a look at them too. The opposite discussion yesterday, it went to touch the levels. Levels, in short, of VR, not of VIX. The first resistance, after having it, started immediately upward. Basically, yesterday it shot up immediately in a flash. The beginning of the week. So a nice upward opening after, here too, we had pointed it out in the discussion about the trading range channel that had formed, the breakout that probably wanted to be a false breakout, or at least a first attempt at a breakout that was rejected right at the limits where we had it. We had pointed it out and we are entering back into the range that, as I mentioned yesterday morning, could easily lead to what is already happening. In short, the prices are heading towards the maximum of this range that we had pointed out, 2983,000, with a nice bullish push. In short, important volumes are coming in. What does the indicator mean? How does VLC signal it to us? We're already close to RD2, so absolutely a nice movement. This one of theirs in the morning, starting from 9, absolutely. So a nice bullish push. We'll see the developments throughout the day. As always, I ask you to follow me on social media, on X and Patreon. On YouTube, please leave a like on the videos so that they can be better indexed. As always, I thank you for your attention. We'll catch up later in the chat. Thanks everyone again for your attention.